Welcome to this edition of the Weekly Dose, Challenging Your Perspective. This is Patrick Dyer. On January the 20th was the American presidential inauguration. President Barack Obama was inaugurated for his second term in office. This was a joyous occasion. Just like the first one, it was a momentous occasion. It is history. The second time a black person is being elected as the president of the first world, the most powerful country in the world. The mall was full of people, and they called this place the mall. Although this time the number was not as big as the very first time, the first inauguration 4 years ago, nonetheless, it was still an air filled with hope, an air filled with the sense of democracy. A president has been elected, and we're celebrating his re-election. Now, this time I chose not to go to the grounds. It was cold, and I decided I'm going to sit in my living room and have a front view of the events, celebrate it from my house, maybe with a fire going on, sitting on the couch. Because last time I went to that and it was cold, my fingers were freezing. This time I had a slight cold. I was feeling a little bit under the weather, and I did not want to be exposed. So I decided to stay home. And I watched the majestic celebration, people singing, people waving flags, millions of flags being waved. Once in a while you saw a Kenyan flag and you're proud. You're seeing your Kenyan flag there, symbolizing the connection of the President of the United States with Kenya. What pride. And I got to think, all this multitude of people, there must be Republicans and other independents and other people that probably did not vote for this president. But they came together, the whole country came together, because this is what democracy is. There's an election, there's a winner, there's a loser. The winner is celebrated, and the country recognizes that through an open, daylight swearing in of the president. And I got to think about it, and it occurred to me that reflecting back to 2007, 2008, what is the legacy of President Moi Kibaki? I was home. I was in Kenya then. And around the Nyayo Stadium, you could see the different army bands practicing. And I remember stopping, and the kids are watching, and they're saying, why is that happening? And I said, because very soon there's going to be inauguration of a president, whether it was Raila winning or Kibaki winning. It was going to be a show of the advancement that Kenya has made in democracy, inaugurating a president who's been elected publicly during daylight. But what we saw was the opposite. We saw a president being sworn in darkness, with a few people around him, the core group around him, present. What would have been a repeat of 2002, where Kibaki was sworn in during the day and the former President Moi being bid farewell. Although the insults were being hurled at him. But that exchange during the day of one president leaving and the other one coming in, that was historic in Kenya. That a sitting president is being given a send-off and an elected president coming in being welcomed in public. People celebrating, people dancing in the streets because democracy prevailed. The power of the vote prevailed. Now, people talk about what is going to be President Kibaki's legacy. And they say, well, the infrastructure, the economy was good, which is true. Kenya's economy grew. There's been improvement in infrastructure. But the question we must ask ourselves is, wouldn't these things happen with any other president? Isn't that why the presidents are elected? Leaderships come in and try to improve the country? So that is expected. It's like sending your child to college and expecting them, or sending your child to school and expecting them to pass. That's what they're supposed to do. But what do we remember? At least in my books, what will the country remember from Moi Kibaki? Is this person that was sworn in darkness, and the country went burning. The country fell in darkness. That was very symbolic of what happened that day. And for me, in my books, that's what I see Kibaki as being. A president that threw Kenya into darkness and brought mayhem. 400 and above people being, 1,000 people being displaced. Over 1,200 people being killed. Rooted from their homes that they've known for years. Because there was perception of an election stolen. And that perception was strengthened by the fact that this president and that administration chose to have a swearing in darkness. We've seen a president who at every chance tried, in whichever way, to go around what the Constitution says, even after the sharing of power with the Prime Minister. Occasion after occasion, he tried to make appointments without consultation. Choose people into places without consultation. Sign laws that goes against the new constitution, against the grain of what democracy is. We see a president that, in my books, was brought in at the height of when Kenyans everywhere, their spirits were the highest. And these spirits got killed. The spirits of Kenyans got killed. And if we are to learn from that as Kenyans, it's that elections matter. And as Kenyans, we must respect the ballot. We must advance the idea of democracy, that the idea that a president, sitting president, can lose. And when they lose, they go home. In that instance, for me, I think for all the atrocities that President Moi did to the country, I think that was his one shining moment. Even though he went out being shamed. But I think that is something that will live forever in the history of Kenya, that a president left and a new one came in. Because he had all the power of the machinery of the government to do whatever he could have done. And that's what Kibaki did. He used all the machinery of the government to do what he did and be sworn in darkness. And I would urge Kenyans, and I would urge whoever becomes the president, that we must do it in peace. And those that lose, go in peace. And those that win, please give Kenyans that chance to celebrate your winning. This is the Weekly Dose, and I'm challenging you to challenge your perspective. This is Patrick Dare. Thank you.